5 ways to help someone suffering from anxiety and depression. Unsure of the best way to help a friend who is suffering from anxiety or depression? Here are 5 ways. When people stumble across the knowledge that I am a trained and practicing clinical psychologist, I often get asked the same question. How do I help a person in my life that is currently struggling with depression, anxiety, or mental health problems? There is a reason why this question is asked so much. Studies have shown that in 2017 in the United States, an astounding 19.1% of the population met the criteria for having at least one anxiety disorder. 7 to 1% of these adults had had at least one major depressive episode. So let's take into consideration that these figures probably don't include the following. People who have suffered with depression or anxiety, but to a much lesser degree. People who prior to 2017 have suffered from significant episodes of anxiety or depression. People who struggle with other types of disorders that are linked with mental health, but are not anxiety or depression. Eating disorders, psychotic disorders, etc. What is clear from these facts is that at any one time, there are a staggering number of people suffering with significant mental health problems. Almost everyone is closely acquainted to at least one person that falls into this category. Having a loved one that is struggling from anxiety or depression can have a staggeringly profound effect on someone. In fact, it can actually be the reason that people seek therapy themselves. Unfortunately, there is not one single behavior that can effectively help all the people who are currently struggling with anxiety and depression. The good news, however, is that some approaches work better than others, and I have taken the time to outline some of the methods that tend to work. Here are the 5 ways to help someone suffering from anxiety or depression. Before we get to any of that, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we post a new video, since that's by far the best way to support the channel. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to it. Number 1. Make sure you educate yourself so as to dispel the myths surrounding mental illness. In modern society, there are many prevalent and harmful myths that surround anxiety, depression, and mental illness. Such myths are that only the weak suffer from mental illness, that it can be conquered by willpower, and that it is actually untreatable. A belief that becoming mentally ill is a result of improper diet, bad parenting, or chemical imbalances, or a failure to find God can lead to people seeking treatments that are harmful. When mental illness is seen as a sign of deviance, it is often associated with violence. This in turn makes people go out of their way to avoid helping those who are struggling. So, with there being so many myths about mental illness, it is important to educate yourself and find out the truth behind mental illness. This way, you will avoid making bad decisions. To dispel myths, you should look for free resources available online from reputable organizations. Select your next book from your book club to be someone's first-hand account of struggling with mental illness. You may like to choose the Lauren Slater's Prozac Diary or Monkey Mind by Daniel Smith. Engage in conversation with someone who has past or present experience in suffering with mental health, listening to their own personal experience. Number 2. Try taking some perspective. Even if you have never suffered from depression or don't meet the criteria for anxiety disorders, for sure, at some point in your life, you have suffered an episode of intense fear or sadness. Depression and anxiety exist on a continuum. They are not all or nothing entities. Try to think back to the episode in question and what it was that helped you get through it. Many people think that pushing positive thinking onto a person, or alternatively, tough love, will help the person snap out of their suffering. The truth, however, is that neither of these two approaches tends to help. Things that do tend to help the person are validating communication, empathetic behavior, collaborative problem solving, patience, and supportive listening. Chances are, if you think back to a time when you were struggling, these things that were provided by friends and family were what helped you through it. Also, you can't do any harm by asking someone who is struggling what it is they need and how you are able to support them through their time. Number 3. Act on red flags and take them seriously. Red flags need to trigger immediate action when they are related to people who are suffering with mental health issues. If someone indicates to you that they are having suicidal thoughts or are considering hurting themselves, this needs to be taken very seriously indeed. There are several signs that someone is suicidal. Some signs are obvious, like the writing of a suicide note or the purchasing of a gun. Others are far more subtle, like avoidance of talking about the future. If you are aware of a friend or family member that is talking about suicide, encourage them to phone the National Suicide Hotline immediately. If you are afraid that the person may actually engage in suicidal behavior, accompany them to the local emergency room, or if this is not possible, dial 911. However, suicidal behaviors are far from being the only red flag to consider. There are many other signs that someone who's suffering from depression or anxiety is getting worse. Decreased attendance at work, weight change, or a withdrawal from social situations are all red flags. If you know someone who has been displaying these tendencies, talk to them and offer them your support. Intervening before things get worse can be incredibly helpful. Number 4. Remember that you can't fix them. You cannot fix a person with mental health issues, but you can help them to seek help. One of the most prevalent sources of distress for people who are currently dealing with the mental health problems of others is that they feel an enormous amount of responsibility is being put on them. However, it is not your responsibility to fix the person, nor will you be able to. What you can do, however, is put the person in touch with a professional who can help. Educating yourself on the availability and effectiveness of psychotherapeutic and pharmacological interventions locally for those suffering from anxiety and depression is one concrete thing you can do to help someone who is suffering from anxiety or depression. If on offering to put them in touch with a professional who can help, they refuse, you may like to consider consulting a professional who can help and support you in your bid to help the person suffering. Number 5. Keep doing it for as long as possible. When you find yourself helping someone with mental health issues, you can end up feeling frustrated and unrewarded. When someone is suffering from depression, it is natural that they may resist help when you reach out to them. It is also normal that they won't enjoy fun activities you propose to them. But don't stop your contact. Carry on texting and calling and making initiations, even if they appear to go unnoticed. Remember how much you care for the person, even if it doesn't provoke a response. Although it can be very frustrating, keep asking and never give up. If you give up, you will never get through to the person. If you keep asking, the person will accept your help when they feel ready to do so. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we post a new video, since that's by far the best way to support the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.